Hello, Christopher Macor here from So You Want to Play Guitar. so, one of the best ways to get practice in learning songs and learning the kind of chords that will be part of songs is what I call a diatonic chord progression. Now, a diatonic chord progression is it's like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, do. It's like that. That's that do a deer. It's also called solfege. It's like that melody, but only in a harmonic way, right? And it's actually the ground, the foundation of our music system, of the Western music system. And so what I want to do today is I want to show you the theory of that, and I want to show you a diatonic chord progression in the key of C, which is, that's the key that we use. It's probably the most common key, and it has no sharps and flats. Okay, so I'm going to screen share to just give you a little bit of the theory first. Okay, so here is this is the theoretical way, the theory way of presenting a diatonic chord progression. And as you can see, it's done in Roman numerals, and you can see that some of the chords are capital and some of them are lowercase. Some are uppercase and some are lowercase. And then you can see this one actually has a 7. It's a 5/7. Okay, so a diatonic chord progression starts with a major chord. So, and in the key of and I'm gonna go through this first, and then I'm going to switch back to the camera. I'm going to show you that on the guitar. But in the key of C, it's a C chord, and then the next chord in the progression is the 2 chord is a minor chord, and that's why it's lowercase. And that in the case of C, that would be a D minor, and then the 3rd chord is a minor, and that's an E minor. And then the 4th chord is a major chord, and that's an F in the key of C. And then the 5th chord is a major, and that's a G chord. And once again, the uppercase means major, and the lowercase means minor. So that means the 6th chord here is a minor. Now, when we get to the 7th chord, it gets a little complicated, because normally what would go here is, you see this is 6, it would be a 5, it would be a 7 diminished 7th chord. And that chord is a little antiquated. It's still used, but it's in terms of most modern music, it's a little antiquated. So what we've done with music is we've learned to substitute a 5/7 chord. In other words, in the key of C, the 5 is a G, and then you make it into a 7th chord. And we use that instead of the 7 diminished 7th chord, we use a 5/7. And here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chords. And that brings you back to the tonic. All right, so now I'm going to show you what that sounds like and looks like in terms of the key of C. All right, so let me get my camera in position here so you can see this. All right, so most of you probably know a C chord, right? So that's the 1 chord in the key of C. That's the 1 chord. Then we go to a D minor, right? The 2 chord is a minor chord, and it's a D minor. So there's a D minor. And then the 3 chord's a minor chord too, and there's an E minor. Okay, so then when we get to the 4 chord, it goes back to a major, and here and in the key of C, that would be an F, right? And there's that bar. The F chord's one of the more difficult standard chords. And then the 5 chord is a major chord, and that's a G. And these are all standard chords, standard guitar chords. We'll be doing some other diatonic chord progressions with more non-standard chords. And then the 6th chord is A minor. It's a minor chord, and it's A minor. Right? Okay, so now here, now we have that that chord. It would normally in the progression it would be a 7 diminished 7, which would be, it would sound like that. And the diminished chords are, they're not used so much anymore. Well, by changing one note, this note right here, by changing that to just a G, right, which is in the key of C, we've turned that into a 5/7 chord. And the standard way of playing a G7 is like that, and then we're back to C. All right, so when you do this progression, this diatonic chord progression, if you do it in a linear way, meaning you just go from one chord to the next, it goes C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, G7, C, and you can see that that just follows the do re mi sequence, or it's also called solfege, right? You go do re mi fa sol la ti do do. All right, so if you're wanting to practice the C diatonic chord progression, which is a great thing to practice, there's probably more songs. There's hundreds of songs written in using the chords of a C diatonic chord progression, in guitar music alone, and so that's a great progression to practice. The linear approach, right, to just do it sequentially like that, that's a good way to get started. But let me show you a second approach, right? This approach, I call this a skip approach, right? So you go C, then you go D minor, and then you go back to C, and then you go to E minor, and then you go to your then you go back to C, and then you go to your F, and then you go back to C, and then you go to your G, right? You keep going back to 1. Then you go to your A minor, and you go back to C, and then you go to your 5/7 or G7 and back to 1, right? So when you're practicing these progressions, it's good to, just when you start off, you want to just step through the chords, just so you get that, you get the basic fingering and stuff like that. But then you want to actually turn it into music. So like with this skip scale, you could go like, so I just practiced the C diatonic chord progression, but I did it in a skip scale way, and I just I went 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2. I did kind of a triplet strum, and it almost sounded like a song. I mean, you could write a song from that chord progression. You could just make a song right from that. So we're going to be doing more diatonic chord progressions in the future. You'll be seeing those videos, but for right now, that's just to review what we did. introduced the idea of diatonic chord progressions, which are you have a one chord which is major, a 2 chord which is minor, a 3 chord which is minor, a 4 chord which is major, 5 chord which is major, 6 chord which is minor, and then the 7th we actually use a substitute chord, and that is the 5/7. So in the key of C, those chords are C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, and then you go to G7, because G is the 5th in the key of C, and then you go to your C. And I showed you a new approach. I showed you the linear approach, which is just the sequential way of playing it. But then I showed you a skip approach, which is you keep going back to the 1. So you go C, 1 2 1 3 1 4 1 5 1 6 1 5 7 back to 1. And then when you add a strum to that, you can actually make music. So that's all for today, and thanks for listening. Once again, I'm Christopher Macor. So you want to play guitar.com is where you can find me, and hope this was helpful.